Mark Elliston, a 33-year-old freelance illustrator who had spent the past year trying to rebuild his career after a painful job loss, never expected his wife Ria's promotion to become the moment that shifted their entire marriage. Yet the word she spoke the day she received it still burned in his mind with unsettling clarity: the leeching is over. They were in their small living room, sunlight filtering through thin curtains, when she walked in wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Ria Elliston, driven, ambitious, and known for her relentless discipline, had just been promoted to department lead at the firm where she worked under her perfectionist manager Tobias Grant. Mark had been proud, truly proud, until the moment she continued speaking, saying that now everything in their life had to change, that from this point forward they would live differently. There was no anger in her tone, but something colder, something that felt like distance disguised as determination. Mark stood quietly, feeling her words settle like stones in his chest. He had always known Ria carried the weight of responsibility heavily, but hearing her characterize his struggles as leeching stung more deeply than he expected. He had spent months searching for clients, building a portfolio, taking courses to sharpen his skills, and though progress was slow, he was trying, truly trying, but now it suddenly felt as though his efforts had been invisible to the person who mattered most. Ria launched into a speech about structure and efficiency, explaining how their spending habits, daily routines, and even social life would need to be reevaluated. She spoke in clipped, managerial phrases, the kind she usually saved for presentations. Mark tried to listen, but her voice sounded far away, like he had stepped underwater. He wasn't angry, only confused and deeply hurt, wondering how long she had viewed him through this harsh lens. When she paused, Mark asked gently if she really believed he had been leeching. Ria froze for a moment, as if surprised he had latched onto that one word, and then sighed, saying she didn't mean it literally, only that she could no longer carry everything on her own. Mark understood that sentiment, but the phrasing replayed over and over in his mind, making it impossible not to hear judgment behind it. Over the next few days, Ria began implementing rigid schedules and financial guidelines, sending him spreadsheets and weekly targets as though he were a junior employee instead of her husband. Mark tried to follow the plan, telling himself it was temporary and meant to help both of them, but the emotional distance between them grew quietly, like a hairline crack spreading across a window. One afternoon, while sketching at a cafe, his friend Lena Mercer joined him after noticing his distant expression. When he finally told her about Ria's statement, Lena's face softened with sympathy, and she reminded him that progress could never be forced into someone else's timelines, especially not through pressure. Her gentle perspective helped Mark breathe again, grounding him in the reality that he wasn't a burden, just someone going through a difficult chapter. Later that evening, Mark returned home to find Ria still working at the dining table, surrounded by reports and glowing screens, her shoulders tight with tension. For the first time, he truly saw how overwhelmed she was under her new title, how much expectation she carried, how Tobias's constant demands had changed the way she saw the world, including him. Instead of confronting her, Mark sat across from her and quietly said that he didn't want them to become strangers living under the same roof. Ria's typing slowed. She looked up, truly looked at him, and something in her expression cracked. She admitted that fear, not superiority, had driven her words. Fear of failing her new role, fear of losing stability, fear of being the only one holding everything together. The promotion had made her feel powerful on the outside yet terrified on the inside, and she had projected that pressure onto him without realizing the damage her phrasing could cause. Mark listened, the tension in his chest easing as she spoke with honesty rather than authority. He told her he wasn't angry, only hurt, and that he needed reassurance instead of criticism while rebuilding his career. Ria apologized quietly, her voice trembling as she acknowledged that she had let the stress of success twist her perspective. Together, they talked for hours, about finances, emotional balance, shared goals, and the understanding that growth in a relationship had to be cooperative, not dictated like a corporate strategy. By the end of the night, they weren't magically healed, but they were reconnecting, piece by piece, rebuilding trust with difficult honesty. Ria promised to communicate her fears without sharp words, and Mark promised to keep pushing forward with his work while also being open about his struggles. As they finally turned off the lights and prepared for bed, Mark realized that the moment she declared, "The leeching is over," had not been the end of anything. It had been the beginning of a complicated but necessary conversation, one that reminded both of them that partnership meant patience, vulnerability, and learning to grow without hurting the person standing beside you.